In this video, I'll be showing you how to stop a client from leaving your agency. There's 3 different stages that this happens in. We're going to be going through each individual stage and going over exactly what you need to do in each one in order to save that client, increase your monthly current revenue, and decrease that churn rate so you can make more money in your agency. My goal is that by the end of the video, you have an idea of exactly what you need to do to save your clients before they actually end up leaving your agency. Let's get straight into it. So the first stage we're going to cover is the exit point, and this is stage 1, and this is the worst stage. Now, at this point, the client has already expressed in one way or another that they want to go ahead and actually leave your agency. And I won't lie to you guys, this is not easy. This is not easy recovery to actually make. But the good news is that it is possible. And hopefully by the end of this particular stage, you'll have a better idea of what you need to do specifically when a client tells you to want to leave your agency and how to actually recover them. So this is kind of like when Volkanovski got caught in that guillotine in round 3, which is just a very, very bad position to be in. But the good news is, and hopefully you'll be able to kind of replicate this, is he managed to escape and he actually managed to win the fight. So this is you basically saving your client. So let's go over the first thing we need to do here. So the first thing we need to do here to save this client before they actually end up leaving you is scheduling an exit interview as soon as possible, guys. Now, if you don't know what exit interview is, exit interviews are basically calls that you have your clients right before they actually end up leaving you. If you want a pro tip, always include a clause in your actual initial contract agreement that says something along the lines of, hey, you can cancel anytime you want, or depending on when your canceling conditions are. However, you need to have an exit interview if you actually want to end up leaving this, because these exit interviews are a great call to actually collect feedback, but most importantly, and what I'm going to show you in this video, they're a great call to actually potentially save your clients. So you want to manage to book in that exit interview as soon as possible. You can just frame it as, hey, totally understand you want to leave, no problem whatsoever, just to help us improve our service and so I can get you offboarded the right way, giving you the right materials and pointing in the right direction in terms of what you need to do. Let's just have a quick 30-minute call to go over all that stuff. And that's basically how you want to frame your exit interviews. But once again, it is a lot easier if they're already going into it knowing that they're going to have it from the contract, right? The first thing you want to do when you actually hop on this call is you want to listen to their feedback. Now, this is very important regardless of whether you're going to save them or not, because a lot of this feedback you can use for future clients and actually improving your services. So regardless of whether you're trying to save the client, I always recommend hopping on these exit interviews to get a better understanding of, okay, what went well, what went wrong, and get some genuine feedbacks, because most of the time people are not going to tell you the real reason they're leaving. I mean, at least not initially, right? They're probably going to tell you, hey, yeah, maybe we need to cut costs or something like that. But you always need to dig down to the deeper reason, and these exit interviews are a great way to do that face to face. Now that you actually sit there for a bit and listen to their feedback, now this is the opportunity to basically jump on any feedback they gave you. And the way you have to think about it is their feedback, they're going to be presenting you a bunch of different problems, and your goal is to find different solutions to their problems, which in turn will keep them working with you guys. So for example, right, let's say you run a digital marketing agency, and one of the things that the lead was complaining about is that leads weren't actually converting. Now in this case, you can be like, oh, hey, I never knew that was a problem. Why don't you go ahead and try our call center for free for 14 days, and you're going to see that our leads convert, because on average leads convert at X amount depending on your averages for your call center if you're a marketing agency. You see, right now we have the problem that the leads were converting, which they conveyed in that exit interview, and you found a solution which is implemented a call center to convert the leads. Another example is, let's say you run a coaching agency and one of the client complaints on the exit interview is that they don't have enough support. Well, you can be like, oh wow, you wanted more support, I didn't even know, I'm sorry. Well, we do offer a one-to-one for X amount more. If you're interested, you can try for 10 days, and then after that you kind of see how they think. So once again, we've got that problem, and then we're presenting a solution for them, which basically 9 times out of 10 will be them working for your services. Now, this won't be the case in all situations. Like I said at the very start, this is a very, very bad position to be in, guys. I mean, you don't want to be in this position in the first place. However, using these different tactics, you'll at least improve the position that you are and have a higher chance of actually saving that client. Another tip I actually had, if the whole problem solution thing isn't working, I actually got this from Cameron England. If you haven't checked out his channel, check him out. He drops a lot of good content. But one of the things he said is that on these exit interviews, right, you kind of want to walk the client through what life looks like when they're not working with your agency, right? So like how they're going to be getting leads, how they're going to be making money, if leads are depending on making money, right? And then based on that, you basically want to offer them some sort of action plan. So for example, it could be, I don't know, like, give us 14 days and we're going to work completely for free, no charge, and we're going to prove to you that we can actually get results. Now, I would recommend doing this all the time. And obviously you don't have to apply this to every single client, guys, because there are going to be some clients that are just not worth the headache. You don't want to deal with them anymore. And if anything, it's not a horrible thing that they're leaving, especially as you start scaling. You're going to be a bit more selective about who you work with. However, this could be a potential solution if you want to actually save a client that is qualified, they're good to work with, and it's just the results problem. But once again, guys, this is a very bad position, and you're not going to always save the client, but using these different tricks, you're going to at least be more likely to save clients. I can guarantee you that. But I think the biggest thing I can tell you guys for this specific stage here is pay attention to the feedback on the exit interviews, because this feedback is actually very, very valuable. Think about it. This is feedback as to why people are leaving you. So if you keep on hearing the same things being mentioned over and over again, that could be an opportunity to potentially expand your service delivery to fix that problem, or change the way you're offering work, so maybe change the way expectations are set by your closers. Like, I think the most important part of the exit interviews is the feedback, and don't get me wrong, a perfect opportunity to save the client and potentially bring it back on board. But at this stage, you're in a very bad position. So don't get discouraged if you don't manage to save them, and take in the feedback constructively to actually make your offer better and avoid any potential problems in the future from other clients who are facing the same problems. So that's stage one, the worst stage in a soul situation. Just to summarize what I just said, at this point, the client has already told you they want to leave. This is a very bad position to be in, but it's still possible. The first thing you want to do is basically schedule an exit interview. And on the exit interview, you want to basically hear their feedback. And if you think that based on their feedback, there's just been a miscommunication, or you feel like you can provide other services to help them, you basically want to try upsell them to a higher package, or maybe even downsell them to a lower package, depending on kind of what the specific needs are. If that still doesn't work, then run them through a plan of what life looks like when they're not working with you, how they're going to be getting leads, different things like that, and then give them a potential solution, or maybe give them 14 days free so they can at least experience what your maximum efforts can be like. But once again, this is a very bad position, so try your best to at least collect the feedback and use that going forward for any different clients. Stage two is the danger zone, which is when a client expresses a concern. Now, at this point, they haven't said they want to leave just yet, but they have mentioned something which is a bit of an early warning sign that eventually they're going to get to this point, which is the exit point. So, for example, the client messages you saying, hey, the leads aren't great, or we need more support, or what can we do to improve the ROI, or we're losing money, or whatever it may be, depending on specific service delivery. They basically voiced a concern to you about your service delivery. And once again, this isn't as bad as the first position, but it's still not ideal, because at this point, we're still reacting. And you're going to see the bit difference this makes when you talk about stage three. But at this point, the first thing you need to do is acknowledge the feedback that they actually provide for you. And at this point, there's two different things you can do. You can either accept the feedback, or you can decline it. Now, this is a kind of a bit of a sticky situation, right? Some of the things I'm seeing from my own clients is that their clients are saying some things that don't necessarily always make sense. So it's your responsibility to sometimes even decline feedback, and potentially even show evidence that hey, this isn't the case, this is what we've done. So for example, let's say someone's complaining about not getting enough leads, right? But you've booked them, I don't know, 20 leads this month, they just haven't seen them. That could be a potential issue. That's like, hey, I think there's been some sort of miscommunication. Here are the leads, let me show you the leads, run through the leads, and kind of confirm that. However, if their feedback is true, right, this is when you need to accept it. And always bear in mind that the customer is always right, kind of. It's important to put that there. But 9 times out of 10, you'll be better off accepting their concerns and trying to make some amends around it, rather than declining them, And even when you decline them, you don't have to be so harsh. It's just a case of saying, hey, I think there's some miscommunication here. Here's what I think. Here's my evidence. It's just a conversation. It's not an argument. But let's say you've gone ahead and accepted that feedback. The first thing you need to do after you acknowledge it is click the RRP button. And this is what we call a rapid response protocol. This is an emergency kind of setting that as soon as a client hears a concern, you want to get your team to shift your resources and allocate more resources to this specific client to give them the best possible experience. Because once again, they're not at that stage where they expressed they want to leave just yet. However, they are raising a concern. So the next logical step here is them actually telling you they want to leave. So at this point, you basically want to allocate as many resources as possible to fixing that client specific issue. So let's say it was a problem of leads. You want to go ahead and actually allocate some resources in this case to, potentially change the ads, or rewrite the copy, or improve the landing page, whatever it may be. You need to go ahead and activate that rapid response protocol to try and do as much as you can to actually save the client before they actually want to leave. Think of this as an internal escalation, and basically want to get your team to pay extra attention to the client and address the problem that you mentioned and fix it as soon as possible. The best thing I can tell you to do here is over communicate every single step of the way of what you're doing after they've given you that feedback. Because at this point, you're basically trying to buy your client's trust back, right? If they're coming to you concerned, then realistically, that trust has already gone down. You should be at the point where they're not coming to you concerns, but you're bringing concerns up to them. Like you're giving them a heads up what's going on. But at this stage, it's too late for that. They've already brought up a concern. So the only way to fix that, after you've basically allocated resources to give the client the best possible experience, launching new ads or new creatives or whatever it may be, but you want to communicate what you're doing the next days. I mean, me personally, if a client comes to complain to me about a specific thing, let's say a project has been delayed, or I don't know, an automation's not working, I am literally going to communicate every single day what my team is doing to fix that specific concern. Now, obviously, that's a bit of overkill, and as you get more clients, it's going to be more hard to actually do and keep track of. But you want to install this into your CMS's brains or whoever's managing your clients, and let them know that whenever a client faces a concern, this is a red zone, right? You need to allocate more resources internally to try to save this client, because if you don't, the only next logical step that happens there is them telling you they want to leave. So even them giving you a warning is kind of a courtesy. So make sure you over communicate at this stage and implement all the different resources that they have to actually, fix this. And I'll give you an example of what this can actually look like. Let's say you're a marketing agency and a client comes to you and they're complaining that they're not getting enough appointments. This immediately you want to acknowledge. Be like, hey, I'm so sorry you haven't got enough appointments. Let me have a look for you. Then you have a quick conversation with your team saying, hey, this specific client say they're not having enough appointments. What's going on? Then you kind of work your way back and try fix the actual constraint, or at least identify. So you can be like, hey, these guys have a good CPL, but they're not converting. Okay, we need to improve our conversions. Okay, how are we going to improve the conversions? What's the time on the initial lead reach outs? How many times are they being followed up on? What are we doing with leads that, said they weren't interested or wasn't the right time? Are we following up with leads? Different things like that. And once you've actually initiated or at least thought of that plan, you want to go ahead back. You want to go back to the client, communicate with them, and then every single day going forward, at least for a week or so, communicate exactly what you're doing to fix that situation. So if you go back to our example, let's say the issue was that, I don't know, leads weren't being contacted because one of the follow-up sequences wasn't working. I'd go ahead and, day by day, I'll send an update as to what I'm doing. Hey, client, I've gone ahead, I identified the issue. It was because even though we have a good CPO and we're getting leads in, we're not converting them. So what I've done is I've set my team up to update some of the follow-up automations. We've also implemented, higher priority list in our call center. So your leads are going to be contacted faster, which should lead to faster conversions. Obviously, that's just an example, but every day by day, I'm going to communicate that to them and hopefully try to save them. Because once again, at this point, you want to get that trust back, and trust is super, super important, guys. So you want to basically save it before it's too late and they actually move on to stage one, which once again is the worst stage to be in. You don't want to be in this position right here. So that's stage two. Just to really quickly recap, when a client comes to you with a concern, the first thing you need to do is either accept the concern or decline the concern. 9 times out of 10, you're going to accept it, but I put that decline there because sometimes you do have to correct your clients on certain things. But let's say 9 times out of 10, you're accepting a concern. As soon as you accept it and acknowledge the concern, you need to basically activate the rapid response protocol, which is basically an internal escalation for that specific client where you're getting the team to figure out what's wrong, come up with an action plan, and then implement the action plan. And the most important thing in this stage, once they've actually expressed the concern with you and you've figured out a plan, you want to communicate what you're doing on a day-to-day basis to actually improve that client's results and keep an eye on them in the future, because you don't want it to be a thing where they're continually complaining about different things, especially if their complaints have some sort of merit. So this should be the first warning sign that someone wants to leave. And if you don't fix it at this stage, then inevitably they're going to end up in a stage one exit point, which once again, you do not want to be in. You don't want to be this guy at the bottom right here. All right, so we've gone over stage one, we've gone over stage two. Let's go over stage three, which is the early warning stage. Now, given by the green, this is obviously the best stage to be in, but it's also easier said than done. And I'll explain what I mean in a second. So at this stage, holiday-wise, we've gone from going to visit a slum to going to some mediocre hotel to going to an all-inclusive 5-star resort. I mean, this is a stage that you really, really want to be in. And this is what you should be aiming for, guys. You should never be in stage two or stage one. The reason this is so good is because at this point, we're being proactive. We're not being reactive. We're not waiting for the client to tell us something and then fixing it. At this point, we're going to be identifying what's going on before the client even mentions it and then fixing it before it becomes a problem. If you think about it, this makes a lot of sense, right? Let's say you go on a holiday and you hire a house sitter to look after your house. And let's say a house sitter is, I don't know, cleaning the dishes and one of the pipes burst because she hit something. Would you rather come home and discover that one of the pipes had been burst, or would you rather that as soon as the pipe burps, you get a call from her saying, hey, I've gone ahead and burst the pipe by accident, but I've gone ahead and called a plumber, so they're going to come fix it as soon as possible? I think the answer is clear, guys. Proactive always wins. And this is the same mentality you need to have in your agency. You don't want to be reactive and reacting to your client issues. You want to be proactive and bringing the issues up to them so they can have more trust in you. Funny enough, Helpline actually did a survey about this, and they found that 89% of people found proactive service to be a positive experience. And this might not sound crazy, but compared to the 70% of people who reported a very bad experience when it came to general customer service, this is a massive improvement, guys. So now that we understand that we want to be proactive, right, then let's talk about how we can actually do this, guys. And this is fairly easy. What you want to do is, before our client actually comes to you and complain, you want to have some sort of system where your employees are basically checking client results on a consistent basis and identifying when a client's results are kind of swaying off to the side a bit, or when something doesn't look quite right. So for example, this could be a high CPL. This could be they're not getting any appointments last week. This could be, I don't know, there's low engagement on their posts. And this is the first initial red flag that you want to use to identify when a client is at risk of churning. What we're basically trying to do here is predict client churn. So once you've gone ahead and actually identified that red flag, the first thing you need to do is come up with an action plan on how you're going to fix it. So for example, if it is they haven't got any appointments, similar to last time, you could go ahead and come with an action plan on how you're going to increase conversion rate. If it's low engagement on posts, you can come with an action plan on how you're going to increase engagement by bringing more attention to the comments. I mean, I'm not a social media manager. That's just an example. So you come with this action plan. Now, in order to actually come up with the action plan, that what I like to do is understand, game plan, and communicate. Understand is you need to understand the issue before you kind of start moving and going crazy trying to fix something that's not even an issue. So for example, if it's high CPL, figure out what's going on. Is it ads? Is it a creative? You know, I don't know. Is it a copy? Is it an ad account? Is it a targeting? Understand what the actual issue is. Come with a game plan on how to actually fix it, and then communicate, guys. The most important part of this whole thing in stage 3 is communicating. You right now are at a stage where you have an early warning system, and this is such a privileged position to be in, because at this point the client doesn't even know there's an issue. So if you tell them there's the issue, they're gonna have so much trust in you guys. I mean, it's not even comparable. Once again, let's go back to the house sitter example. Let's say you burst a pipe. Would you rather be told in advance that a pipe is burst and have an action plan of exactly what's going to happen and how she's going to fix the pipe before you even home? Or would you rather come home and discover the pipe is burst, there's water all over the floor? Just think about it, right? This is the same as that process you want to apply to the agency game, guys. You want to make sure you actually communicate this with your clients, guys. And this is, you know, super, super important. Don't try to keep this hidden behind the scenes, because they're going to find out eventually. And if anything, it builds more trust if you come clean with them and tell them what's going on, fill them in what you're going to do to actually improve it. And then obviously after that, similar to what you have in stage 2, give them a step-by-step breakdown of what you're doing every day to actually improve it, and obviously, you know, communicate any feedback. At this point, you're going to buy their trust, guys. And that's the most important thing. They're going to have trust in you to actually deliver on the services that you promised in the first place. Now, this is a lot easier said than done, and having an early warning system is not difficult, especially as you start getting more clients. Trying to identify that problem for each individual client is not easy. So the easiest way to actually do this at scale is using health score, which is basically a metric that tracks client performance across a bunch of different metrics, compiles it together, and then ranks clients depending on how they're performing based on your usual KPIs. And this will look something like this, where you have a dashboard where you get an overview for each individual client, and it basically tells you their health score and tells you anyone who's at risk. So for example, you can have a weekly reporting system that every single week tracks individual clients' results and gives you a warning sign as to what's going on. So in this case, Acme Ltd is at risk, so I'd go ahead and actually investigate what's going on. Is it an email sent? Is it an open rate? Is it a total number of leads? Is it appointments? Based on that, I've come up with a game plan how to improve it. So let's say the open rate is lacking, we can go ahead and change the subject and then communicate that with a client saying, hey, you know, we've noticed that the emails last week were a bit down, or the open rate, sorry, was a bit down. This is because of XYZ. What we're going to do to fix it is ZYX, whatever it may be. Just communicate with them so they have an understanding of what's going on behind the scenes, and they have that trust in you now to actually do that. If you want us to build this kind of churn system for you, which will literally allow you to predict your client churn, then check out the first thing in the description. I'm also going to play a quick commercial for you that we made recently.
What do you mean they want to leave? We've been with them for 5 months.
We just don't really feel like we're seeing results, so we're thinking of moving on.
Yeah, totally understand.
Churn is killing us, man.
It happened last Tuesday. Client dropped off and never came back. I still send looms. No one watches them.
No.
Pause. If this feels a little too familiar,
then you need the Churn Buster 3000!
I was blind when it came to client success. Now I see. Thanks, Churn Buster. I served in client retention for 6 years. Lost too many good accounts. Not on my watch. Not anymore.
stop reacting to client churn and start preventing it. Book your free churn help check using the first link in the description and start scaling your agency the right way without losing your best clients every single month.
Clients are leaving.
We aren't making profit.
Our LTV sucks.
Sucks.
Another one without Churn Buster.
But yeah, guys, all jokes aside, make sure you actually check out the first link in the description if you're an established agency owner who literally wants to be able to predict when clients are going to be able to churn. Once again, guys, you know, at this stage is the best stage to be in. You never want to be in a position where you're reacting to your clients' feedback. You want to be proactive on the communication. And when you have a couple clients, it's easy to do, right? But as you continue growing, let's say to 50, 100 clients, it's going to be much harder and harder to actually track clients on a consistent basis. And this Churn Buster dashboard and Health Score in general have brought in some amazing results for our clients when it comes to managing clients and obviously decrease churn rate so they can make more money every single month. But apart from that, guys, that's it from me today. Just to summarize stage 3, as we've done for the rest of this video, stage 3 is the best stage to be in. You basically want to have an early warning sign that your client performance are lacking. So for example, you can have someone on your team checking clients' results on a regular basis. And then based on that, as soon as you spot a red flag, you go ahead and understand the problem, come up with a game plan and communicate with the client. And this is going to buy you that trust. This is going to prevent the client from ever coming to you complaining about things, and it's going to prevent the client from telling you they ever want to leave. Because if you're consistently spotting issues and fixing them, then they're going to get better results, they're going to have more trust in you, and they're much less likely to churn, in return making you more money in your agency. But guys, that's pretty much it from me. Thank you very much for watching. If you do want a step-by-step breakdown on how you can set up Health Score by yourself, then check out this video over here. It's literally a metric that you can use to literally predict your churn rate and always be in stage 3, which once again is where you want to be. If you want us to implement our systems into your agency completely done for you, then check out the first link in the description and apply for a free churn health check call. On that call, we'll calculate your actual churn rate, go over 3 ways you can actually improve your churn rate, and lastly, and most importantly, show you exactly how our clients are using the churn dashboard to literally predict client churn and increase their monthly recurring revenue. That's it from me today, guys. Don't stop your learning here. Continue watching YouTube and make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, because we drop videos like this every single week, going over different ways you can improve the backend systems in your agency so you can make more money and keep your clients happy. Don't stop learning here. I really recommend checking this Health Score video. And apart from that, guys, I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye.